The instant you step into any space, you're already under silent scrutiny. Without realizing it, the people around you are decoding you. Their eyes flicker across your expression, weighing the tone of your voice, the pauses between your sentences. Every glance, every tilt of their head is an unconscious assessment, born of their own fears, hopes, or insecurities. But where most people stumble through this process blindly, Machiavelli executed it with precision. His approach was not accidental. It was deliberate, almost surgical. He understood something essential. Power isn't merely in what you declare or do. It lives in how swiftly and deeply you can perceive others. To manipulate someone, first you must know them. To shield yourself, you must anticipate them. And to control them, you must see through their mask before they even sense your gaze. Machiavelli believed that appearances are almost always a performance. A smile may be a lure, a handshake might hide a challenge, a flattering word could be bait. He built methods, not guesses, methods for decoding the unseen, for piercing the illusions people weave around themselves. What emerged from his study was not a vague philosophy, but a set of sharp psychological strategies, tactics to uncover anyone's motives, vulnerabilities, and secret ambitions almost instantly. The first principle he championed was startlingly simple, yet devastatingly revealing. Pay attention to how someone treats the powerless. Not how they treat you, because that's easy to fake, but how they behave with people they assume are irrelevant. The waiter, the assistant, the intern, the stranger with no status. These encounters expose true character because there's no incentive to perform. Machiavelli knew that power subtly corrodes weak spirits. When someone feels safe enough to show their real nature, they're giving you a preview of how they'll treat you the day your usefulness fades. Respect toward the invisible reveals more than kindness toward equals. His second principle was to weaponize silence. Words are often camouflage. Insecurity thrives in noise. Most people fill gaps in conversation not because they love speaking, but because silence leaves them feeling exposed. So, speak less than they do. Pause longer. Let your silence press against them like weight. Within moments, they'll over-explain, confess fears, or betray their true motives without realizing. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's a force that strips away their script, leaving only what's real. The third tactic was to give them absolutely nothing and watch what unfolds. This is among Machiavelli's coldest moves. Offer no praise, no benefit, no affection, only your presence, cool and unreadable. Why? Because people reveal themselves when they're denied. Do they withdraw and turn cold? Then their warmth was conditional. Do they double their efforts to please you? Then they crave validation. Do they remain steady? Then they're emotionally disciplined and potentially dangerous. The less you give, the more they show. Fourth, disrupt their rhythm. Many people rehearse their personas. They polish their charm, practice their vulnerability, even plan their honesty to shape how others perceive them. These are the hardest people to read unless you break their pattern. Ask a question they don't anticipate. Interrupt their anecdote with silence. Respond to their flattery with curiosity or skepticism. Change the subject when they're building momentum. When their performance is interrupted, they stumble, and in that stumble, you catch a glimpse of who they truly are. The fifth tactic: test loyalty with small losses instead of waiting for a big betrayal. Decline a small request. Refuse a minor favor. Pull back your attention briefly. Then observe. Do they stay respectful, or do they slip into gossip, criticism, or distance? Loyalty is not proven in moments of gain, but in moments of denial. A small no can reveal a giant truth about someone's character. Sixth, measure their focus instead of their speech. Words can be lies, but attention rarely island. While they talk, watch what draws their eyes. Do they keep glancing at high-status people? They hunger for power. Do they ignore those beneath them? They only respect advantage. Do they check their phone while with you? You're an option, not a priority. Do they mirror your expressions? They're angling for your approval. Machiavelli did not just listen to people, he tracked where their mental energy flowed. Where attention goes, investment follows, and investment reveals what they truly value. 7th, plant a false weakness and observe the reaction. Share a harmless but believable flaw. I tend to overthink, or I'm not always good at confrontation. Then wait. Do they weaponize it later, mocking or exploiting you? They're opportunistic. Do they ignore it? They're either respectful or cautious. Do they confess a real vulnerability in return? They crave connection. By offering a fictional flaw, you risk nothing but gain priceless insight. 8th, make them wait. Delay your response. Text back late. Be vague about plans. Take longer than expected to deliver something. The impatient reveal entitlement quickly, guilt-tripping, sulking, or passive aggression. The patient holds steady, adapting without resentment. Machiavelli sought not just loyalty, but resilience. Time, after all, exposes temperament. 9th, notice who they emulate. Everyone mirrors someone, consciously or unconsciously. Their tone, style, or mannerisms trace back to an idol. By studying that idol, you decode their ambition. Do they mimic the powerful? They seek control. The popular? They want applause. The virtuous? They crave moral superiority. Who someone imitates is who they secretly long to become, and once you know that, you know what drives them. 10th, trigger envy and watch the flicker. Casually mention a success, an opportunity, or a compliment you received. Watch their face. Is the smile too tight? Do they quickly downplay it or change the topic? That's envy, subtle but deadly. Envy is the quiet precursor to sabotage. It doesn't roar, it flickers, and once seen, it cannot be unseen. 11th, ask what they despise. Forget asking what they love, anyone can fake that. Ask instead, what kind of people do you dislike? Or what behaviors do you hate? Their answer is rarely about others, it's a reflection of themselves. Those who claim to hate arrogance often harbor arrogance. Those who denounce dishonesty may be skilled liars. Those who scorn weakness are often terrified of appearing weak. In judgment, confession hides. 12th, notice what makes them break eye contact. Direct gaze is power. Breaking it signals truth. Mention topics like money, shame, failure, or power, and watch their eyes. Do they twitch, shift, or drop when something strikes a nerve? The eyes are not just windows to the soul, they're escape routes for suppressed emotions. What the eyes flee from is what the mind fears most. The last two tactics Machiavelli saved for himself. They're not just about reading others, they're about shaping how others reveal themselves to you. Weak minds chase answers. Machiavelli provoked them. He didn't simply observe, he set the stage so people exposed themselves. 13th, become their mirror. Most people move through life in disguise. But if you subtly reflect their tone, posture, or language back at them gradually, without exaggeration, you activate unconscious self-recognition. They see themselves in you. Their instinctive reaction to that reflection tells you everything. Mirror their casual tone, do they become intense, trying to dominate? Mirror their confidence, do they retreat, unsure how to respond? Mirror their insecurity, do they shift to superiority or mockery? By acting as their reflection, you create friction that exposes authenticity or performance. The more dramatically someone changes when they see themselves mirrored, the more they were pretending. 14th, disarm with respect before you strike with observation. Most people expect judgment, so they show up armed, defensive, rehearsed, guarded. Machiavelli began with the opposite. He offered respect, praise their intelligence, acknowledge a success, validate a point, even if you don't fully agree. This psychological safety lowers their defenses. Then you ask the real question, the one they're unprepared for, the one that bypasses the armor. For example, you seem very thoughtful. What's the biggest fear behind your decisions? Or, you're clearly self-assured. When did you first learn to project that confidence? Or, you're good at reading people. How do you know when someone's reading you? Admiration creates the opening. The surgical question removes the mask. People are most honest when they feel admired. Once you master these tactics, the second layer begins reading strategically. Machiavelli didn't study personality traits as trivia. He studied them as terrain, as leverage points. Every habit, every blind spot could be used, influenced, or guarded against. If someone fears abandonment, distance becomes your tool. If they crave admiration, subtle disapproval makes them chase you. If they thrive on control, unpredictability unsettles them. And if they're dangerous, if they're smiling with a dagger behind their back, you'll already know where to strike or how to let them self-destruct. This is where psychological reading transforms into quiet warfare. You build mental profiles, archetypes, but never announce them. Machiavelli didn't label people aloud. He did it silently. He didn't say, "This one's a narcissist," or "That one's insecure." He just observed, categorized, and acted without revealing his diagnosis. Why? Because once you label someone, they resist you. But when you treat without diagnosis, your influence goes unnoticed. You'll start to see patterns: the masked pleaser, desperate for approval, and easy to control with praise but dangerous when denied it. The silent climber, outwardly loyal but always eyeing power vacuums, keep them at a distance. The fragile genius, brilliant but volatile, useful only if emotionally managed. The loud defender, constantly over-explaining and justifying, usually hiding guilt or insecurity. You don't need to tell them who they are. You just need to know and act accordingly without them realizing you're doing it. Above all, observe how someone handles the word no. This is the purest test of character. Machiavelli believed strength isn't shown in victory, but in restraint. Deny them a favor, a compliment, an opportunity, or your attention, then watch. If they remain composed, their mind is disciplined. If they lash out, ego rules them. If they drop their mask entirely, you've exposed the role they were playing all along. The instant someone refuses your request, their emotional default becomes visible. Their natural setting shows through the crack. Learn who they're trying to win over. This is a cornerstone of Machiavellian insight. People rarely speak merely to express. They speak to position themselves. Every remark offered in your presence functions as a strategic placement, even when it feels spontaneous. So ask yourself, for whose benefit is this performance staged? If they aim at you, they crave your approval. If they aim at the crowd, they're asserting dominance. If they glance toward an absent figure, they're revealing an unseen authority. Track where their gaze seeks validation. Note which faces they scan for reaction. Every quip, declared stance, and little flourish is a maneuver aimed at somebody's attention. Once you identify whom they hope to impress, you know where their allegiance lies, and it might not be you. Observe what they boast about, and then search for the concealed opposite. People frequently trumpet a single strength because they're compensating for a weakness. The one who brags about being brutally truthful often uses partial facts as ammunition. The person insisting they're drama-free frequently leaves a trail of chaos. Those who insist they always put others first frequently nurse private grudges or crave control. Machiavellian wisdom says that excessive signaling of one virtue often marks the shadow trait it conceals. Genuine power rarely needs a megaphone, it simply exists. When someone loudly touts a value, investigate the reciprocal flaw hiding behind that noise. These observations aren't idle speculation, they are instruments to sharpen your edge. You stop seeing people as chaotic variables and begin reading them as systems, codes, predictable routines. But recognizing patterns is only half the craft. Once you decode a person, you must decide how to act. Will you indulge the mask they wear? Provoke them? Elevate them? Crush them? Power brings choice, and with choice comes moral risk. The temptation either to detach entirely or to dominate. Machiavellian strategists didn't shy away from that dilemma. They embraced it. They regarded others not merely as barriers or enemies, but as levers that could move the board. With precise perception comes an obligation to use it wisely or cunningly, if you prefer. Knowing someone's hidden engines doesn't make you powerful simply because, you know, power accrues when you apply those secrets without exposing what you've discovered. That's the moment understanding turns into gentle command. You aren't merely observing, you are guiding, and they follow cues they believe are their own. Ordinary influence appeals to logic, argument, and sincerity. The Machiavellian prefers a subtler objective, obedience that feels voluntary, steady, and invisible. The first method to exert that invisible sway is to mirror their desires, then reframe them. After reading someone's true wants, whether it's prestige, notice, safety, or control, don't confront those cravings directly. Instead, reflect them back and attach your agenda to that reflected want. Flatter the ambitious by aligning your proposal with their climb. Validate the insecure by praising effort and potential. Acknowledge the dominant by recognizing their competence. Their guard falls because they feel seen. Once disarmed, you reroute that energy toward your ends. Suggest that aligning with you amplifies what they already crave. More recognition, more influence, more security. They adopt your path, believing it was their route all along. Second, employ calculated openness to provoke confession. People adore speaking about themselves, especially when circumstances make them feel superior or helpful. A controlled admission on your part, a minor imperfection that's believable and low risk, such as, "I often hesitate on first impressions," or "I get lost in work sometimes," creates an emotional tilt. The listener feels elevated, useful, and trusted. These feelings loosen tongues. The mind that is flattered and feels safe will voluntarily spill details it would normally guard. This is not coercion, but orchestration. By giving a little vulnerability, you harvest the other person's deeper truths. Third, disclose a fragment of truth to create a false parity. People tend to reciprocate perceived candor. Offer a partial confession enough to seem sincere, but not enough to harm you, and they will often reciprocate with a genuine admission. You hand them a small shard of yourself, and they hand you the map. This reciprocal illusion of equality is powerful. In their relief at being understood, they drop boundaries and reveal honest motives or fears. Machiavellians mastered this exchange. A calculated reveal yields disproportionate returns. Fourth, allow people to name themselves, then use that label. When someone tells you what kind of person they are, "I prize loyalty," "I can't stand wasted time," "I don't let emotions govern me," they hand you their operating manual. You now know which identity they will protect at all costs. When you need compliance, frame requests so they affirm that self-image. "You're someone who values loyalty. I trust you'll handle this." Or, "I know you hate inefficiency. Here's a quicker route." Makes them act in line with the identity they have publicly endorsed. You're not convincing them, you're enabling them to remain true to themselves while you steer the outcome. Fifth, manufacture reputations they will defend. Humans dread the embarrassment of inconsistency. If you ascribe a desirable trait to someone publicly, people respect you for being fair, or you're known for not getting entangled in petty disputes, you create a social pressure to conform. They will cling to the image because deviating risks exposure. You've installed behavior simply by labeling it, transforming a desired action into a reputational duty. Sixth, leak the right details to shape belief. Influence needn't always be direct. Allow others to overhear or discover hints that suggest a narrative you prefer. A story of your cunning, a sly remark implying strong standards, a casual comment that positions you a certain way. When people think they've deduced your nature themselves, they stop examining and start adapting. Predictability follows belief, and predictability is your ally. Seventh, let them taste victory early so you control the finale. Give someone an initial win. Let them believe their idea shaped the direction. Let them feel instrumental, then guide the trajectory so the ultimate payoff serves your interest. People defend and protect what they think they created. Feed their ego with small, harmless triumphs, and they'll guard the program you designed. They'll defend what they helped build, even if it primarily benefits you. By now you've moved beyond mere observation. You craft environments that shape minds. You anticipate, you build scaffolding around behaviors, you orchestrate outcomes, yet there's a shadow that accompanies high attunement. Seeing through others can breed contempt, a creeping sense of separation from humanity. It's easy to begin treating interactions as mere games, to relish control for its own sake. The final, rare distinction in true Machiavellian mastery is the discipline to know when to stop, to conceal victory and withdraw while still having the spoils. At the apex, the whole practice becomes reflex. You don't consciously ask how to read a room. The data arrives as effortlessly as breath. You enter a place and instantly discern who's anxious, who performs, who quietly wields influence, and who watches you as intently as you watch them. The question, then, is not only what you can do with that knowledge, but who you become when you possess it, whether you remain humane or let strategy erode your humanity. The most dangerous minds are the ones that never learn to quit. The wisest know when to win and when to vanish, leaving others convinced the path they chose was always their own.